Good evening. I'm Professor McCoy. Welcome back to Kingdom Come Deliverance. Hopefully my audio is a little bit better this time. I've been having issues of late, and hopefully it's a little bit better. If I am having some problems, let me know. I have a couple of ideas that might fix it, although I have no guarantees until, I guess maybe an OBS update might be in order or something. Anyway, hopefully it's not a problem, and if it is, it's a problem we can deal with. And continue on playing Kingdom Come Deliverance. I did not actually go back through and try and fix anything. In order to fix the main error, which was trying to keep half of the money that the guy donated, I would have had to go back through and play for a full 3 hours, which I unfortunately didn't have time to this week. And I looked it up, and nothing else that I could have really done would make a significant difference, and so it was not nearly as big of a deal. And so I'm going to give it a go and hope for the best for Johanka's sake. And we will see. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. Should be good. Should still turn out fine. We'll have to see. All right. Let's see. I need to get in to talk to Johanka. Alright. That means I need to... You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to bribe the guard. I'm going to bribe the guard. I'm just swimming in silver. I can just go bribe the guard. That's fine. Anyway. Having a good week so far. Long, but pretty good. I've been keeping busy. Class is going well. I was yesterday, as you can, as is indicated in the description. We were talking about paper writing. My class has a paper coming up in just a couple of weeks. Big, major 1,500-word essay on metaethics, a topic that no one knows what it means, or at least they don't, and I had to explain it at least 3 different times per class. Some classes more even than that, because it's a complex topic and it's a weird, fairly esoteric topic. Bees. Put some bees in my pockets. All right. Anyway, so yeah, it's it should be interesting what they come up with for this. I'm basically having them write on what is the nature of the good and why should we be good. Basically giving them the hard foundation problem.
I want to talk about Johanka.
All right.
I'm sure the bishop wouldn't mind if you had to go and answer a call of nature, and if it were a nice long call, there'd be a few groschen in it for you.
Don't even try it. I'm warning you.
Well, let's see.
Come on now. Just between the two of us. Johanka is my friend. She has no one else but me. The Inquisitor will surely take her away, and I'll never see her again. I just want to say goodbye to her before she disappears forever. What would you do in my place?
Well, since you put it that way, but I'd be taking a big risk, disobeying the bishop's orders. You'd have my head for it.
Of course. I wouldn't expect you to put yourself at risk without a reward.
Yeah.
All right.
Granted, corruption. I can afford that.
Make it quick, eh?
For sure. Thanks a lot. I owe you.
Good luck, then.
That's not it. That is. There we go.
Johanka, are you alright?
Yes, Henry. I'm fine. I'm glad to see you.
I spoke to the Inquisitor. He wants to put you on trial.
I know. It's all in God's hands now.
No, it's not. I mean, it is, of course. But the bishop has allowed me to defend you.
You want to defend me? Thank you, Henry, that's very kind of you. But you needn't bother. Our Lady won't let anything bad happen to me. I am her instrument, and I am completely in her hands. Everything that's happening is her sacred will.
But I won't stand by with my arms folded. You need someone to testify for you. As I said, I will defend you.
If you insist. Maybe it's the will of the Virgin that you came to me. So be it then.
So in a lot of cases, we are in fact the answer to each other's prayers. And that's actually something to remember, that we shouldn't... it's inappropriate to simply say, God will take care of this. Because in a lot of cases, if I am to help someone, I am the help I could perfectly well be the help that they have been praying for, and it is me obeying God's will to help them. This is the case, I think, with Henry.
I went to Ujits, like you asked.
That's good, Henry. I hope you purged yourself of your sins.
I did the pilgrimage of penance, like you said. And in the church, I begged the Virgin Mary for forgiveness.
And she will bless you, Henry. You're a good man. Remember that. And don't stray into wrongdoing again.
I won't. I made a donation to the church, too. And the parish priest there, Father Godwin, he was asking about you.
Was he? What did you tell him?
Oh, just about everything that's going on and the things you were saying. He was quite moved by it, to tell the truth. He even gave me some writings.
You see? Maybe Our Lady is giving you a sign too.
So, by the way, I'm eating here because I got home late, hence being a little bit late for the stream. I'm having I'm going to call it, I don't know, a pancake Oreo with Nutella in the middle. Very good. It's the most. It's an incredibly medieval little snack. I mean, not really, but I mean, thinking about it, are hazelnuts native to Europe? I was about to say, I think that all of the ingredients there would have been available in 15th century Europe. I don't know about Bohemia. Some parts of Europe, though, I think. So yeah, why not? Why couldn't Henry have made a pancake Nutella sandwich, so to speak? Maybe not, I mean, not Nutella, that's a brand name, but you know what I mean. Hazelnut spread. Oh, not why. Cocoa. There's no cocoa. Which to a significant degree in Nutella. So maybe not. Never mind.
What did Bishop Yaroslav ask you about?
All sorts of things. Like how the Virgin Mary visits me, what she shows me, and about preaching to the people. Actually, he was really quite pleasant. He asked me about scalets, whether I go to church, and a lot of other things. And in the end, he told me I mustn't speak in public again about the visitations and that. But I couldn't obey an order like that. The Blessed Virgin is testing me, and I have to do what she asks, no matter who or what stands in the way.
I'd say he wasn't too happy about that.
No. He came there with his men, dispersed the people, and had me arrested and locked up here.
Yeah, so direct disobedience to a spiritual superior like this, to the bishop, is, especially with respect to specifically religious matters and evangelical matters, is gravely sinful, and he has every right to put a stop to it.
About that trial?
Yes, the trial.
I'll get some people who will testify for you in court. But Brother Nicodemus is worried you'll say things that will make the Inquisitor angry. Please don't do that. You have to talk to him respectfully, answer his questions with humility, and not say anything to annoy him. And don't say anything against the church or priests. Please.
I'll say only what the Blessed Virgin wants me to say.
Johanka, please. You mustn't say anything against him or the church. Be contrite. Maybe even admit you might have been wrong about some things. I don't think the Inquisitor is so bad. If you submit to him, he'll drop the charges.
You too now. You're speaking exactly the same as his assistant. The two of you joined forces against me, did you?
Against
Nothing
you?
to do with him. I didn't even know he was here. Believe me, I'm really trying to help you.
You don't believe me anymore, do you?
I do, Johanka, I believe you. But in court, you must speak reasonably, prudently. A lot depends on it. Maybe even your life.
I appreciate your concern for me, Henry, really. I do. But you must understand. I can't deny that the Virgin Mary visits me, or what she wants to tell us. Not now. After everything that's happened, I can't. Otherwise, she won't heal Matthias.
But you have to consider yourself and what's good for you. Surely you don't want to be convicted of heresy? That won't do anyone any good, neither you nor Matthias.
I've already told you. Everything is in the hands of the Blessed Virgin. I will accept with humility the fate she grants me.
Oh, Sacra. This is going to be a right mess.
Yeah, that's not humility. I would almost say that it's almost a kind of pride. It's a kind of, especially the okay. So what seems to me prideful about her response is not what some people might think, that she's, she thinks she's special. She's in some way special because the Virgin Mary spoke to her, etc. I don't think it's that. But she certainly is humble with respect to how she has dealt with these visions so far, and with the tasks that she's been given, and all that. All that has been quite humble. The trouble has arisen when she is now in open and direct defiance of a spiritual superior authority. She's putting herself and particularly her own interpretation and her own understanding of what's going on above the understanding and the judgments of people who know better, and people who she knows know better. She has right reason to believe that the bishop knows better than she does the will of God. And so if she is going to be insisting like this, then it is ultimately, there is a kind of pride going on. Again, maybe not the kind that one might ordinarily think of. Right? A situation like this, we might tend to think that the pride is, I'm so special that the Virgin Mary has come to me. But I don't think that's what's going on. I think pride here is, quite frankly, the same kind of pride that keeps a lot of Protestants out of the church. That they lean entirely on their own understandings and their own interpretations, rather than deferring to some spiritual authority. Hey, Erica, if you're listening, question, how is my audio? Am I still doing okay? And I will say, in part of it might not be the audio glitchiness. I want to make sure I distinguish the audio glitchiness from my voice being a little bit cracky. Because my voice is a little bit cracky. Matthias. He's not doing well. That's a good question. Erica asked, do you think the people who make the game will see that she is actually in the wrong, or do you think that they designed this to be girl power woo is the correct answer? I think that they are. I think that they are actually attempting to explore the complexity of religious authority in the social context. I don't see them really as taking sides here. I see this as really just a complex topic and a complex issue that they're portraying here, more than it being a church bad, woman good thing, or she's overly fideistic and we need to bring in some rationalism here, which would both of those would have been very very easy things to do. For a game like this, they absolutely could have made this into a rationalism thing, or could have made this into an anti-clericalism thing, and really neither of those have jumped out at me. Maybe there's some girl powerness to it, but that's kind of how the devotion to the Blessed Virgin has manifested itself in a lot of time periods. So yeah, maybe there's a little bit of that, but it's not excessive, I don't think. I think this is handled well, and I think it's handled pretty neutrally, which is surprising. I mean, it leaves it up to the player interpreting who's in the right here to a great degree. And I think that's really well done. I'm glad to see that sort of thing sometimes.
I spoke to Johanka.
And did you manage to convince her?
I'm afraid not. She's stubborn. She says she answers only to the Blessed Virgin.
Oh dear, Henry. That's not good at all. What about her family? Doesn't she have a relative she might listen to?
No. None of them survived the raid on Skalitz.
She has no one at all left in the world?
Well,
Poor child.
There's Matthias over in the other room, but he's not exactly in a good state to help.
May the Lord watch over you.
There's somebody here.
Matthias? You're better.
Henry? Is it you?
Yes, it's me. Who else would it be?
I'm glad you're here, Henry. I feel a bit better now. I'd even like to eat something. I must tell Johanka.
Good health.
She'll be glad.
Johanka's not here.
Oh? Where is she?
How to begin? Look, things got a bit complicated here. The main thing is, Johanka is in jail, awaiting trial.
Why would you lead with
What?
that?
What
Why,
happened?
Henry? Oh no.
The Virgin Mary is speaking to Johanka, and Johanka is spreading her word to the people. But there is this inquisitor who heard about it and had her arrested. He's putting her on trial for heresy.
Oh my God. How could such a thing happen? But if Our Lady is speaking to her, surely nothing can happen to her.
Well, I hope not. Trouble is, Johanka is very obstinate, and she's likely to say things in court that will just make it worse for her. Listen, Matthias, I need you to go with me and talk to her. Maybe together we can convince her to see sense.
I wish I could. But I'm still too weak to even get out of bed. I'm sorry, Henry. I just can't do it. You know what? Tell her I'm feeling better, and I agree with everything you tell her. Give her this dice. She'll understand. It'll almost be like I was there with you.
Dice?
It's complicated. Back in Skalitz, Johanka wanted me to take her dancing, but she was too shy to ask. She thought if she took my dice and then brought it back to me, I'd be grateful and ask her to dance. Crazy, I know. But that's girls for you. But I asked her anyway. And that evening she told me everything.
Girls, eh? I know what you mean.
Henry, please, look out for her. And make sure nothing happens to her.
I'll do my best.
God be with you. Johanka? I think I'm better.
Think I'm better. Oh, poor Matthias. He's not doing so hot, but he's doing better.
Yeah.
All right. I wish I could just give him something, something to give him some energy, help him out a little bit. Throw him on the back of the horse and ride him over. I don't know, something. All right. Guess I'll handle it myself. All right. Anyway, so this week I dedicated a good bit of time in class yesterday to talking about paper writing, which is a skill that most students do not possess, and writing a philosophy paper in particular is a skill that none of my students possess. And so I had to go through my various tips, tricks, and guidelines, I guess, for writing a philosophy paper in particular. So not just an academic paper in general, but philosophy paper in particular, which has its own very unique requirements. Most notably that it doesn't need to sound nice, but it should instead be incredibly precise as you can possibly make it, even if that means, unfortunately for some people, using the same word over and over and over and over again. Yeah, sometimes even in the same paragraph or sentence, and never, ever, under any circumstances, going anywhere near the thesaurus button. That's one of those pieces of advice that everyone hates. But, and also it makes it so that when I write anything academic, that Erica, being an English major, just physically cannot bring herself to read it. Because it just sounds bad. And who can blame her? It sounds bad. I love it because I'm an analytic-leaning philosopher, but that's a rare breed. Excuse me. Then, of course, there's the whole hook introduction, beginning your paper with a hook to grab the reader's attention, which is wildly unnecessary and incredibly annoying. And so I went through some of the bad examples of papers, and one of the best I've ever gotten is in the description right now. So if you haven't seen, heard, or heard me talk about this absolutely terrible essay introduction, click that link in the description in another window. Enjoy. Very bad.
About that trial,
Yes, the trial.
I spoke to Matthias.
What? But he's lying in a fever, isn't he?
No, he's much better. He asked about you. He
They
wanted
got
to come
better.
here, but he's not strong enough yet.
Oh, that's wonderful. You see, Our Lady helped him. And now, I have to do
Amen.
my part.
But doesn't it mean that you've already done your part?
Well,
What
Gotcha
would be
there.
the point of it all if the Inquisitor were to have you imprisoned now? Or even worse?
It's a message. A final test. I mustn't fail now, after everything.
But you already passed the Virgin Mary's message on. Many people heard it, and many of them have amended their ways. You certainly haven't failed. Look, Matthias gave me this for you, and he asked me to tell you to look out for yourself.
Thank you, Henry. Go now. I need to rest.
Alright, well, that's all I can do. Alright. Yeah, that's it. It's trial time, I guess. Let's put these things away. All right, let's go get this started, shall we? Anyway, so coming up, I'm also going to be talking about more Thomistic ethics, actually getting into the real meat of the matter shortly. Looking into excuse me, how to criticize ends, like really how to determine whether some end being pursued is really pursuant to the greater good, to the ultimate end, and the summum bonum, whether it bears the notion or the character of the good, etc. That sort of thing. It is it's an interesting section of the book. We're reading Ralph McInerney's Ethica Thomistica, and I've said before that this is an excellent book. It is a very good description of broadly speaking, Thomistic ethics. Ethica Thomistica, hence. It's the moral thought, or the moral philosophy of Thomas Aquinas. And like I said, it does an excellent job of displaying that, and displaying it, making a real positive case, not just saying, well, here is what Aquinas has to say. It's just records, right? It really is putting it forward and taking it seriously, as if it were put forward by a contemporary philosopher. Anything in here worth reading? Not stealing, oddly. Anyway, though, it's an excellent book if you're interested in ethics, particularly from a scholastic or Thomistic perspective. I absolutely very highly recommend it. I have and can give you a PDF version of the original edition. I don't have a PDF version of the updated edition, which does interestingly provide some issues. So the updated edition, I don't have it out. Darn. There are some significant changes that McInerney made between editions, between the original edition, which was published in, I think, 1982? It was in the 80s, early 80s. And then the updated version, which was published in, I think, 1998. So nearly 20 years later. This was, you made some significant changes, not because of new developments or anything like that, but really the changes were structural, reorganizing some things so that they seem to flow better. And I think that actually, from what I've read so far, from what I've looked at it, I've tried to look at some of the comparisons. I think it winds up being better. The only difficulty is that I'm going to absolutely have to retool my syllabus just a tiny bit next semester, because I made a mistake, because I wrote my syllabus and wrote my schedule before having gotten a hard copy of the new edition, because the new edition splits. Well, let me put it this way: the original edition splits the topic of the topics covered in the third chapter, which is the highest good, or the ultimate end, and how it's pursued, and it splits this into talking about other competing views of the matter. And so it splits it into more or less a few major sections. The last things covered are the Humean is-ought fallacy, or the fact-value dichotomy, or that whole mess, and then relativism. And so, or the possibility of relativism. And so what I did was I split our class discussions into the first half, which is more conventional criticism, and more direct conventional criticism of the view of Aquinas, and then the crazy, although probably more common, criticisms from Hume and the relativists. However, in the updated version, Hume gets dealt with first, the is-ought fallacy and some things like that, and then gets picked up again later on. And so what I was planning on doing for the second lecture on this chapter is sort of split up into multiple parts of this chapter, and so in the new edition, it doesn't divide itself nicely. So I might have to change things around next time I teach this course. It's okay. Lessons learned. It's all right, and it'll work fine. Most of my students are using the PDF from the older edition anyway, while I do like the new edition better, it's fine. I am hoping to record class tomorrow, and then presumably also class next week, at least Tuesday, maybe Thursday as well. We'll see. So you guys can follow along with that as we go forward as well. So if any of this is mystifying but interesting, there you go. It is forthcoming. I'll defend her in a duel. No. Let's go. Wait, what else? Oh, this is an interesting question.
Monsignor, Johanka is just a simple village girl from Scallis. Are all these legal proceedings really necessary?
They are. The mission of the Inquisition is quite unequivocal, and however trivial, this matter has a broader significance.
What broader significance?
No offense, but these things can't easily be explained to an uneducated boy like you. Still, I'm pleased that you take an interest. Unfortunately, I don't have time for this now. If you really want to know more, ask my assistant. After all, it is also our duty to guide others through the labyrinth of this world.
Amen. I think I will go and ask your assistant, because I'm curious now. Now that you said that, now I'm really curious.
God save you. What can I do for you?
Because Henry's not particularly educated, but I tend to be, so let's go.
The bishop told me this business with Johanka has a wider context, and that you tell me about it.
Oh, very well. If the bishop says so. Look, it's like this. The world as a whole is not in a good state. For decades, people have been perishing from a terrible sickness, the Black Death. There's an anti-pope in Avignon in France who defies the authority of the throne of St. Peter. The people are frightened. Many of the nobles, instead of caring for peace on earth, are warring one against another. The authority of many monarchs, and even the emperor, is unfortunately too weak to put things to rights. Many scholars have even started to question established truths, and various contentious teachings have appeared, such as those of the Englishman Wycliffe.
The Black Death?
The plague, my child. A dreadful disease that claimed countless lives. By the grace of God,
He sounds like
these parts
Matthias.
were not much afflicted, but it took a terrible toll in the surrounding countries. First, the Italian ports were stricken, Venice and Genoa, and then nearly the whole of Christendom. Some regard it as God's punishment for our sins, or even a sign of the approaching parousia.
Paro what?
The parousia, the second coming of Christ.
Not a term I've
The
heard.
day when he returns to
Interesting.
this world will mark the end of the ages. The dead will rise, and all people will face final judgment for their sins.
Oh. Do you think that's going to happen?
Most assuredly. But God alone knows when that will be.
I hope it won't be too soon.
Well, I mean, that would make a really cool DLC. Oh God, could you imagine the sequel of this, instead of dealing with any of the political things, is literally just Henry fighting in the battles of the apocalypse on the side of Christ? That would be so badass, and I kind of want that to happen. I mean, it would have to be the end of the series or a wacky spin-off, but it would be freaking great.
The anti-pope?
Unfortunately, that's a very serious and unpleasant topic. In short, alongside the legitimate Pope, the Bishop of Rome, and successor to St. Peter, another was elected and is usurping the highest glory of being Christ's representative here on earth. This is a most lamentable schism for the whole church, and the Avignon usurper must be compelled to give up his unlawfully acquired office, so the church and the whole of Christendom may again be unified.
So, there are two popes?
Not quite. There is only one, but there are those who refuse to recognize him. The election wasn't correct and valid, and I apologize. It wasn't wise to speak to you of this. It will only confuse you all the more. Better forget it. We won't talk about it anymore.
Fair enough. I will say that this is a nice reminder that despite all of the various troubles in the church today, what with the German bishops and what with all of the issues with the Latin Mass and in general, with the Synod of Synodality, and all of the for and against issues with Pope Francis and the divisions appearing between different sort of liturgical and even doctrinal camps, things have been much worse, much worse, and have gotten better. Trust in the Lord. If the church were not protected miraculously by the Holy Spirit, there's absolutely no way it would have survived for as long as it has.
You mentioned the Emperor.
God wants unity, a universal order of the world. The Pope,
kind of.
Christ's deputy, and the Emperor, the supreme earthly ruler, crowned by the Pope himself, were instituted in order to preside over that unity. Unfortunately, the gleam of the imperial crown has become somewhat dulled, and his authority is no longer as absolute as it once was. What's worse, his election has become a political game involving many princes, and for a long time, the emperor himself has paid less attention to the affairs of the Christian world and more to his own concerns.
I see.
So, something that he mentioned here, that the emperor's authority has become less absolute. I think there is an important difference between absolute rulers and totalitarian rulers. These are very, very different things. Absolute authority is only such that all that means is that the authority is beyond question or beyond challenge. It does not mean that the authority expands to every. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. It doesn't mean that the authority expands to every area of every citizen's life or anything like that. That's totalitarianism, which is very different from absolutism in terms of authority. Now, I will say, absolutism at this stage in history was wildly unrealistic. That there was never, at this stage in history, at least in anyone's memory, living or written, anything like an absolute ruler, an absolutist ruler. There were competing layers of political power and authority, all of whom contested with each other as well as contesting with the church. And so it was what we broadly call the feudal system, was a system of all manner of adversarial power relations, which basically kept absolutism in check. So absolute monarchy or absolute imperium or anything like this did not arise for another 100, 200 years at this point. Till at the very earliest, you might be able to argue the very, very late 15th century. But I would argue that it really, monarchical absolutism or absolute monarchy didn't really arise until the mid to late 16th century, maybe even later. Caught on later, certainly. And then eventually got supplanted by parliamentary monarchies, and then eventually got supplanted by democracies and republics and such. And Hans Hermann Hoppe, a fantastic historian, political theorist, goes through this negative development, disillusion of the medieval social system in a very short book. I don't know, short book, long essay, call it what you want. What's it called? From aristocracy to monarchy to democracy, something like that. It's a sort of shorter follow-on piece, which is far more historical than theoretical, on democracy, the god that failed. Another very good book of his, but this one's much shorter, much more manageable, and in my view, actually much better. I really do greatly admire Hoppe, but not as much as a philosopher or political theorist. He's good, but there are others who are much better. Hoppe excels in his historical studies. His history writing is incredible. He's one of the best academic historians writing now. Um, so again, I highly recommend some of his historical works, especially that one. That one's very good. Democracy, the God that Failed. It's good too. Don't get me wrong. That is actually a good text in political theory. Um, but but it's not as good as his historical work, which goes into sort of developments that they're talking about right now. This kind of centralization of monarchical power, and then once the power is centralized, it gets diffused not back through society as it was, but diffused through members of government. And so the checks and balances that we think of today, right? We Americans, we think of checks and balances in government as referring to the branches of government checking each other. We don't think of something analogous to a multi-layered. It's something analogous to our federal system, where we have somebody who's ruling at the top, but there's very little that they can realistically do because they'd be competing with the power of people beneath them, a lot of people beneath them, and all those people, but directly beneath the absolute the top guy, the sovereign, so to speak. All of them, they would be competing with powers above them, and then further powers below them, etc., 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 until you get down to, you know, the various neighbors competing with the local mayor, because he can only get away with so much because people can and do push back at him. And so there's this push and pull dynamic up and down the sort of authority hierarchy in society. That is not what exists today, I think, anywhere. And it's kind of a shame because I think that that is a and much more stable model, and one that's more conducive to freedom. Um, it's not, absolute anarchism, but boy howdy, is it way closer than the kind of madness that we have today. All right. So anyway, I'll throw a link to Hoppe's book in the description after the stream, and then I'll put it also in the Discord server. So if you're not there joining us in the Discord server, the link below, you're welcome to join. And then go and have a look at the politics channel. Hold on a second. It's in it'll be in the politics channel.
And what about these scholars?
History. I'll put it in history.
That's
Put it in history.
complicated. Some reject the authority of the Pope or the Church. Others
no.
dispute over the legitimacy of government
Oh, well,
or
that's
the
fair.
nature of the world. Others rebel against teachings. All of them seek all sorts of arguments and explanations to support their claims and argue with others. All this contributes to uncertainty. One doubt leads to another, and soon heretical ideas take hold.
Ah. Uh-huh.
But don't concern yourself. These are weighty matters for others who are learned in such things.
Of course. Peace on earth.
Yes. Sadly, many countries are torn apart by strife and destroyed by war. In the lands of the English, the French, the Italians, in the Holy Roman Empire, Christians are raising their weapons against other Christians. Love for our neighbor has given way to the pursuit of mammon and high office. They plot against each other to gain advantage. You've seen it yourself, right here in Bohemia, and even in Sassau.
Yes. And in Skalitz.
Indeed, my son. Regrettably.
That is actually something to consider as well, that there was a time, and this was actually fairly recent, that raising arms against a fellow Christian would have been seen as heinous. Doable in some cases, perhaps, but heinous. It did occur around this time period, and then forward, especially in the 15th and 16th centuries. But it was still seen as a sort of an atrocity, and it was difficult to do. It was difficult to endorse compared to fighting the pagans or fighting the Mohammedans or fighting the uh, or maybe unfortunately fighting the Jews in our midst. That happened too. Um, Less often than a lot of people think, but still, it happened. Um, but in any case, I think that this idea that it's a tragedy when Christians rise in arms against each other is something that we would do well to recover, because that was actually one of the things I'll note that was one of the things that was excuse me, that was one of the things that was noted as being so tragic about the First World War, the Great War. It was thought of as the brother war. Yes, in a way that a lot of wars had been, but it was still to some degree seen as gentlemanly, or at least the soldiers saw themselves as gentlemanly. But the tactics and the actual uh, techniques used on the battlefield were horrifyingly destructive and did not match with that. And so there was a horrible dissonance. Because, I mean, think about the difference between the Christmas truce and what would happen the day afterwards. The mustard gas would start flowing again. Right after, you would blow the head off of the guy you had just played soccer with the day before, football, whatever. Played soccer with the day before, as he was already choking and dying on the gas grenade that you had tossed over the trench, or launched over the trench, as the case might be.
But what does all this mean? What has it got to do with Johanka?
As I say, the order of the world is shaken. Division is spreading, and confusion and iniquity thrive. It's the handiwork of Lucifer, who wants to lay waste to God's creation. Many have succumbed to his false truths and spread them to others. That's why we must be alert to his snares, especially in these times. Be wary of false prophets and stick to the path of the true faith and personal virtue.
I know someone like that. There's this charlatan who's been peddling wares around these parts. All sorts of amulets, relics and the likes that are supposed to cure all ills.
Yes, I've heard something about that. If you should know of any similar iniquities, the Monseigneur will be glad to listen to you.
Okay. Maybe I should tell on him instead of being his apprentice.
And Johanka?
Just so. I fear she too may have been ensnared by Lucifer's deceptions, and the false belief that she's been visited by the Blessed Virgin. These machinations of the devil must be faced and stamped out before they take root and cause more evil. But we must not despair. Even those who have strayed from the right path may be redeemed. And that's why Johanka's case is important, although it may not be immediately apparent.
I understand.
I don't agree, but I understand.
Thanks. I won't bother you anymore.
God be with you.
Let's talk to him about the charlatan.
Monsignor, I've heard of various irregularities in the province that might be of interest to you.
Very good, my son. A good Christian certainly shouldn't conceal such things. Please, speak.
Oh my god. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know about the inside the monastery walls. I believe that's talking about the stonemason stuff. That's less significant.
The former parish priest of Rovna, Father Simon, went missing one day. Everyone thought he'd fled from the province, but in fact he just went to the woods and became a hermit.
I see. Why did he do that?
I couldn't tell you.
That's a pity. But I'm glad you told me about him.
Yeah, well, let's leave that out, the rest of that. And let's leave the Devil's Skull out too, because that was just a that was a scam anyway. And now let's go for it. Let's go for it.
A demon's skull was found on the church building site.
Yes. I heard something about it. A disturbing report. Tell me what you know about it.
It was a deception, sir. Someone made it with evil intentions, to frighten people. I found the skull and brought it to the local knacker. He confirmed it was a human skull with animal horns stuck on.
You did the right thing, Henry, in uncovering the deception and in telling me about it.
There are interesting things going on inside the monastery.
In the monastery? What kind of things?
Oh, various things that people are talking about. There's a lot of talk about the construction of the new church and how much it must be costing. But actually, nothing that would interest you, really. I won't waste your time with it.
As you wish.
Okay, well, never mind. I assume that you can only say that if you do this after the quest where you're in the monastery for a while. Let's go back to let's leave the Waldensians for last. That's a big deal.
Some women in Uzhitz went to the herbalist for magic ointment. Then they went to the woods, smeared this ointment on themselves, and engaged in all sorts of incantations and spells.
What? Witchcraft? God have mercy. They must be brought to justice. Who is this herbalist they visited?
Not to worry, Monsignor. Father Godwin put a stop to it.
Well, that's good news at least. Witchcraft will not be tolerated under any circumstances.
Amen.
There were Valdensians hiding in Uzhitz.
Really? And how did you find out about it?
Sir Hanush sent me to help the vicar track them down and catch them.
So, Sir Hanush had an interest in finding them?
Yes, that's right.
I'm pleased to hear it. It's not always possible to see eye to eye with secular lords in such matters. And how did it end up with the members of the sect?
I tracked them down and reported them to the vicar, and then he had them taken to Kuttenberg for trial.
Good. Good. There have been all sorts of sects and false doctrines spreading in recent times. It's the work of Satan.
Amen.
I'm glad you told me about it, Henry.
Syndrasinus of Soissons, pray for our protection from our many enemies.
That's all, Monsignor.
All right, Henry. Thank you. But I hope you're not keeping anything from me.
Of course not. Okay, let's do this, guys. It's time.
I'm ready, Monsignor.
Excellent. I have also completed my investigation. We may commence then with the proceedings?
Yes.
Maybe I should have changed my
Good.
clothes.
I will send for everyone who is to bear witness and have Johanka brought before the court. We'll commence first thing tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I can't. I can still change my
One
clothes.
more thing. These are solemn proceedings that demand a certain decorum. I won't tolerate any clanking armor or otherwise inappropriate attire. You
Okay.
will wear this robe.
Of course. Thank you, Monsignor.
Very well.
Oh,
Rest
well, there you
now,
go.
and we'll meet in the morning.
Good luck then.
Did I read a guide? No, should I? Could you help? Maybe you can help. I did not think to. Oh, he's not going to tolerate clanking armor, but... Okay, no, he's leaving. Alright.
Let us begin.
The acoustics of well-built churches. Not old churches, well-built churches. Name of the quest, Madonna of Sasau.
I, Bishop Yaroslav of Benishov, by the grace of God, Papal Inquisitor, have come here to Sasau in response to reports of Marian visitations and the preaching activities of one Johanka, a commoner. And I have found indeed that by her arbitrary word she's been leading good people astray and encouraging their rebellion against their betters. Furthermore, Johanka has attempted to usurp the glory that belongs alone to Holy Mother Church, and to appoint herself as an intermediary of the wisdom and grace of Almighty God. This does not behove any lay person, and certainly not a woman. It is therefore necessary to remedy her transgressions, and to investigate the extent and the basis of her misguidance. Or, as the case may be, heresy. Henry of Skalitz has elected to appear here in Johanka's defense, and his wish has been allowed. Anyone who elects to speak here does so before God, and shall be bound by a most sacred oath to speak only the truth. I will first hear the testimony of Father Fabian, who sent me word of this matter, and who should best know
Or anything
what
is anything
deeds are
like,
done in his
or any
parish.
dialogue choice is time sensitive.
Father Fabian, will you tell us what Johanka has been proclaiming?
Johanka claims that she has received visitations from Our Lady, the Holy Mother of God, who speaks to her in the night. It is an outrageous claim that I hold to be entirely untrue.
And did Johanka come forward to ask your advice regarding these alleged apparitions?
She did not. Instead, she took it upon herself to spread her supposed wisdom to the people.
Well,
And
that's not
prior
good.
to this, did Johanka attend church? Did you see her at your sermons, Father?
I did not, Monsignor. What's more, the parish priest of Skalitz is staying at my presbytery just now. Johanka knows him well enough, but she didn't come to see even him. I believe Johanka is deliberately avoiding the church. Instead, she meets her followers secretly in the woods and preaches to them. Either she made everything up, or the devil himself is whispering in her ear.
If I may, Monsignor, the Virgin Mary really does speak to Johanka.
Is that so? And on what do you found this claim?
It couldn't be the devil. Johanka lives at the monastery, doesn't she? Close to the cave of St. Procopius. St. Procopius, who overpowered the devil and cast him down, did he not? The evil one would hardly dare return to the dominion of the saints to whisper in Johanka's ear. Surely that's obvious.
It's true, Henry, that evil spirits, or even Lucifer himself, would have little power in the vicinity of the remains of St. Procopius.
But the fact that she lives at the monastery doesn't mean that she is not misguided. What's more, she is an interloper there herself, who would not even be tolerated if it weren't for Brother Nicodemus.
Yes, Father, I am aware of the impropriety of her presence in the monastery grounds. But in this I must concur with Henry. Let us continue then. Father Fabian?
Even if it were true, why would Our Lady choose a simple village girl like Johanka?
Monsignor, with your permission, I'd like to draw attention
Okay,
to
hold
the
on,
work
don't
of
send
the
any
great
more.
scholar Matthew of Janov. He
The text is leaving.
like Johanka. He said that God created what is weak in order to bring shame on what is strong. That's why God turns to women who love Christ and blesses them with such visions, so that they can point out and rectify the vanities of men. It can't be heresy if the learned masters of universities write such tracts.
What you say is remarkable. Matthew's work, which you mentioned, does speak to Johanka's benefit. But I wouldn't have expected that someone of your station has even heard of the Master of Yanov. How did you come by his work?
Well, Johanka pressed me to go on a pilgrimage of repentance. I went to Uzhitz, where there is a Marian church, and there,
Marian?
the parish priest gave me a copy of the text.
That's surprising indeed. Especially that you are at all capable of reading such a work and understanding it. You're quite a fountain of unexpected skills, Henry.
Thank you, Monsignor.
Let's proceed then. Is there anything else you want to add, Henry?
Yes. Please call Brother Nicodemus. He has something to say about it. He's a man of learning and knows more about these things than I do.
Certainly. I also wish to hear his testimony. Call him. Nicodemus, for some time you were insisting that the infirmary needed extra pairs of hands. It was only at your request that Johanka, against all accepted custom, was allowed inside the monastery walls. I've already spoken to Abbot Peter about her, but please tell me how Johanka behaved.
Monsignor, I must stand behind Johanka. The girl is a treasure. Selfless, charitable, and good-hearted. She helped more people here than anyone else. I have never seen her do anything that would contradict the behavior of a good Christian. She never discussed questions of faith with me. She was always focused only on her work, which she carried out impeccably.
And afterwards, when she began making claims of Marian apparitions?
Yes. Yes, that's quite an extraordinary thing. The things she preached couldn't have come from any of the brothers, or from books, because she can't read. Therefore, I believe the Blessed Virgin really spoke to her.
Nonsense. She made the whole thing up. Or someone did prompt her. You're very keen to defend her, brother. It makes me wonder whether she didn't get her wisdom from you.
I already said she got none of it from me, and I would never lie before Almighty God. But it seems to me it's the inadequate education of the good parish priest here that's behind his flimsy litany.
What? Am I to be criticized by someone who's more a gardener than a scholar?
Father Fabian, let Nicodemus speak. And you, Nicodemus, stick to the point, if you please.
Certainly, Monsignor. Please allow this humble gardener to put the good priest right, because he evidently knows nothing of the fact that other women before Johanka had similar experiences. Blessed Hildegard of Bingen also had similar visions. And what about St. Bridget, or Elizabeth of Schurnau, or Catherine of Siena? Like them, Johanka here only humbly spreads the message of Our Lady. She does not present herself as an intermediary of divine mercy. Please do not condemn Johanka, Bishop Yaroslav. In my judgment, her visions are genuine and her words sincere.
Thank you, Nicodemus. Your plea is very bold. But what you say about Hildegard and the others is true. You can rest assured, I will consider your words very carefully.
Okay. So far, so good.
Fabian, have you had trouble with heretics before, or had any suspicions of heresy here?
Not much, Monsignor. Now and then there have been traveling preachers and various charlatans here and there. Although, I did recently get reports that there were members of the Waldensian sect hiding in the province.
Yes, I heard of that. They were dealt with by the vicar who came here to track them down. Henry here helped catch them. Thank you, Father Fabian. That's all.
Glad I told him about all that.
I'm glad to have been of service, Monsignor.
I thank you also, Brother Nicodemus. You too may stand down. Call Hoshek, bailiff of Sasau.
Okay. I didn't talk to him very much. Hopefully enough.
Bailiff, has there been any suspicious activity here recently?
Well, there have been cumins on the rampage in the woods and on the roads. and all sorts of bands of footpads and brigands around the province. But otherwise, it's all been peaceful and quiet here, Monsignor.
How reassuring. And what of Johanka, bailiff? Has she been inciting the people here?
I couldn't tell you much about her. I hardly know her. She hasn't broken any laws, and folks speak well of her, for the most part. Although it's true, things have been a bit tense here, on account of her speeches.
Continue.
Quite a lot of people have been going to her since she started with that preaching. Some are even convinced she's a holy woman. From what I heard, they bring her small gifts or ask for her advice or blessing.
Sacrilege! People coming for blessings and bringing her gifts. That has all the makings of a cult.
Oh, I don't know, Monsignor. Begging your pardon, but that's overstating it a bit. But it's true. They met outside town, too, and it came to a bit of a skirmish. And that went too far. There were people killed.
That's deplorable. Violence in broad daylight. Neighbor against neighbor?
Whoops.
There you have it. Johanka did incite people to evil. Her heresy has taken root and clouded people's minds.
Well, that's about all I can tell you, Monsignor.
Thank you, bailiff.
Uh-oh.
We all... And you, Henry. You've been around Johanka more than anyone. Do people come to her for blessings?
Well, they come to her, yes. But I swear she never blessed anyone. But when someone comes to her, she tries to help them, like a good Christian.
That is Henry's fault,
Henry,
yes.
I'm sure you're aware that to lie here is a mortal sin and a crime.
I do. And I'm not lying.
All right. Anything else?
Adela.
Yes, Monsignor. I'd like you to listen to Adela. She amended her life, and doesn't live in sin anymore, all because of Johanka. Her testimony will show that Johanka is an exemplary Christian, not the leader of some cult.
All right. Call this Adela. Adela, until recently you were living in the nearby town of Ledechko, is that so?
Yes.
And how did you make a living there?
I served at the baths, laundering and repairing clothes, and preparing the baths.
Is that all?
No. Sometimes I went with the fellas and pleasured them for money. But I don't do it anymore. I swear. I changed my ways on account of Johanka and Henry here, and now I lead a decent life.
You're saying you simply gave up your profession?
Yes. Henry convinced me, and Johanka took me in.
Very well. Thank you. And since you
Well, that's
left Ledechko, have you sinned with anyone?
No, monsieur, I haven't.
Good. May God give you the will to maintain your newfound virtue, Adela.
She did offer, but...
Please answer one more question. You're living with Johanka now, yes? Tell me what she says to the people who come to her.
Well, they come with all sorts of problems. Some want just advice. Some want her maybe to bless them or talk to Our Lady for them. They believe she's a holy woman.
So, Johanka accepts gifts from these people and then gives them her blessing?
No, it's not like that. Johanka doesn't bless anyone. And she doesn't want any gifts from anyone either. Folk just bring them. The things they bring, she gives them out to the sick and wounded. She doesn't keep anything, I swear.
You swear?
Yes, I swear to it all, Monsignor. I'd never lie to you.
All right. You may go.
Please hear also the testimony of Guta, wife of the tailor, Ambrose. She can also bear witness to Johanka's good deeds.
All right. I promised I'd hear all the witnesses you brought. Call her.
Okay, here we go.
Guta, you witnessed Johanka's first sermon. What did she speak of?
About how we should be virtuous and not sinful.
And then you went to see Johanka, didn't you?
I did, Monsignor. I wanted to ask her for help, and she did. I was praying for my husband for a long time and begging God to help him. And I believe my prayers were answered, and he sent Johanka to us.
I'm just going to mention something odd here, that her belt is not at her waist, it's at her hips, which seems odd for the time period.
And the gifts? People brought them to Johanka so she'd help them?
I couldn't tell you. But she helped me, without any of that.
Didn't you bring her any gifts?
Well, yes, but that was after. Just some old cloth for bandages and bed covers, so she could help others like she helped me. Every evening, I pray for Johanka and thank the Blessed Virgin for sending her to us.
I see. Thank you. You may go. Very well. Now, I wish to question Katra, the swordsmith's wife. Bring her here.
Confront her with the piece of info you got from her thugs. Okay. I think I can do this.
Katra, you are a respected townswoman who has a good overview of what goes on in Sasau. As you told me earlier, will you tell me now what you know of Johanka and her deeds?
Yes, I'll tell you everything, Monsignor. Johanka has been putting ideas into people's heads and causing chaos. What right has she to preach to us? A simple girl like that. As if we were bad people here, and she herself is a sinner, and an adulterer, a loose woman she is, who goes with anyone, and even fornicated with the custodian, Sir Sebastian.
Forgive me, Monsignor, but Katra isn't telling the whole truth.
What do you mean, Henry?
She's the one who set a band of thugs on Johanka several times to cause trouble for her and threaten her. She wanted to drive Johanka out of town. That's not the deed of a good Christian, plotting intrigues like that. She admitted it all to me.
Is that true?
I only did what was necessary to stop her from bringing us to harm.
Monsignor, you can see yourself that Katra holds a grudge against Johanka.
Yes. I must agree with Henry. In view of your
One might even say that Katra is a bit
Johanka, whatever
catty.
the reasons for it, I cannot allow you to influence these proceedings. You should have reported your concerns to Father Fabian instead of acting willfully as you did.
But
just like Johanka.
She's bringing us nothing but trouble.
I will be the judge of her transgressions, not you. Nevertheless, I have also heard rumors of Johanka's immorality that cannot be ignored. Bring here the Sasau custodian, Sir Sebastian von Berg.
This is gonna be not great.
Sir Sebastian, my apologies for raising the matter, but doubts have been cast
Roast
on
him
your
about the
virtue.
affair. Okay.
I have been told that you have shared your bed with Johanka. Is it true?
Monsignor, with respect, this is surely some mistake. Johanka is not a bad girl, and by no means a heretic.
Noted. Now please answer my question. Did you share your bed with Johanka or not?
Yes, but she's not...
Silence! So, Johanka not only incites rebellion against the nobles, but also seduces them into sin and immorality.
That's not true. Johanka never seduced anyone. It's the other way round. He wouldn't leave her alone from the moment she came to Sasau. He simply took advantage of her misfortune and his own status to get her into bed.
How dare you!
Silence! Henry?
I think the Monsignor likes Henry.
Johanka regrets it. What was she to do when she was constantly pursued by a nobleman who has great influence in the area?
What I did out of love for her. Johanka
Really?
is no heretic, only a confused, unhappy young girl. There's no call for jumping to the conclusion of heresy. Monsignor, you must be able to see that.
I advise caution, sir. Would you cast doubt on the authority of the Church in this
Hi,
trial?
Disciple Mike.
I will
Welcome.
no longer tolerate this
Good evening.
humiliation. Get out of my way.
Yeah, that's right. Get your ass back here.
Henry,
What the hell was that?
you proved yourself a good servant of the Church when you told me of your disturbing findings concerning the situation hereabouts. You've been very keen to appear here in Johanka's defense. You've said a lot about her, but please, tell me why you've been helping her all this time.
Because she speaks the words of Our Lady. That can't be ignored. I would be disrespecting the Blessed Virgin if I turned my back on Johanka.
So, you two are still convinced of that? We'll have to see what Johanka says about it herself. That will be all, Henry.
Monsignor, please permit me to say one more thing. I heard some wise words at a sermon in Skalitz, and I think I should share them here. It's our Christian duty to fight against sin. But we must love the sinner. So I beg you, Monsignor, be lenient to Johanka.
You're right, Henry. Those are wise words. Nothing remains but to question Johanka herself.
Okay, here we go.
Johanka of Skalitz.
I have
You've
hope.
heard the accusations
I have
brought
hope.
against you, and we have also heard several testimonies. I already questioned you earlier, and it has also come to my attention that Henry here bribed a guard to allow him to see you in your cell, which I expressly forbade. Johanka, do you wish to revise the answers you gave earlier, or do you stand by what you said?
I stand by everything I told you.
So be it. I expressly forbade you to continue preaching, and you promised not to do so. You defied my instruction and broke your promise. Why?
Forgive me, Monsignor. But I could do nothing else. Our Lady asked me to do it, and I couldn't refuse her. She did visit me. But now I admit that I might have been wrong about some things. I don't understand these learned matters, and I was too hasty in speaking to the people. I regret that I didn't go first to Father Fabian and tell him about everything.
Or the priest from Skalitz. Maybe that would have been better.
I want to apologize here, before the Blessed Virgin. If I misunderstood something and said untruths or brought shame on the Church, I didn't intend to do anything like that. I ask Our Lady's forgiveness, and I will accept any punishment that you impose on me.
I'm pleased that you've seen the error of your ways and confessed to your mistakes. These proceedings are closed. You may leave. Johanka will now hear my verdict.
Johanka, are you aware you're facing very grave accusations?
Yes, Monsignor. I am.
You stand accused of preaching from ignorance and leading the people away from the protective embrace of Holy Mother Church. If you do not recant, you will suffer grave consequences.
Pride and ignorance clouded her reason.
Child, it would distress me greatly to have to pronounce a verdict of condemnation. Speak then. Do you recant your sermons and swear never again to preach to the people?
Are you prepared to repent?
As God is my witness, I did all this with good intentions. And I will never preach to the people again. I recant everything I preached and want to be accepted back amongst good Christians again. I will do whatever you command to make amends for my sins.
Behold, Johanka's soul too have we brought back from the dark labyrinth of the evil one and into the divine light of our Lord Jesus Christ. But the remnants of Satan's evil influence linger in her yet, and must be cast out in the name of Almighty God. Take her. We must all be ever vigilant of Lucifer's evil designs and avoid being caught in his snares. Only Holy Mother Church can safeguard all Christian folks from the onslaught of the devil. Only Holy Mother Church cares for their souls so they may find salvation in the kingdom of heaven.
Full of grace. The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou.
Oh, you bitch.
Blessed be the
I wonder.
of thy word. Jesus. Holy Mary. Oh God.
Behold, Lucifer has been defeated. Johanka has been freed from his malign influence. Now she will take refuge in the sanctuary of the convent, where she will be guided on the righteous path back to our Lord Jesus Christ. God be praised.
Matthias soon recovered from his illness, but when he went to look for Johanka, he found only an empty room. Although she'd been cleared of the charge of heresy, she had to leave with the Inquisitor to enter a convent and do penance for her sins. And all that Matthias had left of her was a bitter-sweet memory. God alone knows if either of us will ever see her again.
It's a sad ending. I mean, certainly it could have gone worse, obviously. But also, I mean, we're obviously tempted as the player character and as the good friend of Johanka, and having helped her along the way, to see the bishop here as the bad guy. And I think that I have to say that he was largely right. So, Disciple Mike, you're asking what was her sin. The primary thing that she did wrong was preaching to the people contrary to the direct orders of the Monsignor, of the bishop, of a presiding bishop. Now, not technically of her bishop, but it doesn't quite matter. I'm gonna go do the turning. So, like I said, it doesn't quite matter that he was not, her ordinary. because that would matter if she were a member of a religious order or anything like that. But at this point, she was not. She was only living in the monastery and helping people. Wait, what time is it? No, I have time. Anyway, so what she did earlier, what she initially did, that being preaching on behalf of the Virgin Mary, having received visions and in dreams and all of that, that led to some social issues, some problems in the city that led to some issues and destabilizations in the church, things like that. However,
I remember that ugly mug. What a piece of luck. Now I can knock your teeth.
Ow, really? How did you get that one on me?
You'll get what for. Not to get me.
There we go. So, if she had only been preaching, I think that certainly that was not deserving of punishment. It was the refusal to stop when she was informed that that her preaching was contrary to the will of the church. That was a kind of sin of pride. Now, particularly, it was the sin of it was pride, I would say, not that she thought she was, particularly special, having been chosen by the Blessed Mary, that sort of thing. That's not the kind of pride that I'm really talking about here. Rather, the sin of pride here was assuming that she knows better about matters of religion than the bishop. Than the church in general, and in some sense usurping the place of the church. Now that part is a little bit sketchy, but she did send Henry on a pilgrimage of repentance, rather than sending him to sacramental repentance. Now that's something that has kind of bugged me about this, as I've been thinking about it over the course of the week since the last stream. That is it tomorrow morning? Tomorrow. Okay, well, I need to go sleep. Till tomorrow morning. Yeah, that is basically why she said she should have gone to a priest first. That if she had gone to a priest first about the matter. Now, Father Fabian, the priest that she could have gone to there in Sasau, was extremely dismissive of her claims, and so that might not have made any progress. He might not have taken it seriously, in other words. But if she had gone to the priest that she knew and trust, the priest from can't sleep more than 12 hours. That's bullshit. Nah, fine. I'll go and sell some stuff off first before I sleep then. It's still daytime. If she had gone to the priest that she knew and trusted, the priest from Skalitz, who was there in Sasau, staying in the presbytery with Father Fabian there, then she could have gotten legitimate spiritual advice and could have had either his endorsement when preaching, which is not that likely. More likely, she could have basically given him the given him the message from Our Lady. And by giving him the message from Our Lady, he could preach it in a way that a priest ought to. And so there, what we would have is something that is appropriate to the sort of hierarchy of the church, in a way that her preaching on her own, particularly contrary to the will of the bishop, but she didn't know that at the time, that would have, first of all, filtered this vision through a test, so to speak, right? A kind of test of authority. That a priest would have known whether what she was saying is heretical or not, and so she would have basically been immunized against the charge of heresy. Oops, my bad. By having it cleared by a priest first. It's like a good analogy might be if you're trying to do something, new, a new task, say at a job, and instead of just going ahead and doing it, you ask your manager, "Hey, should I do this?" And they say yes. Now suddenly, if you get in trouble for it, then it's not. What in the world? Where's all my armor and stuff? Why isn't it listed? Oh, it's only the stuff I can sell here. That makes sense. Okay, well, fine. I'll buy some blacksmith's kits.
Let's have a word about the price.
Well,
basically, you are using the authority of somebody else to basically cover your ass, which is something that she perfectly well could have done. She could have been covering her ass with the authority of either the parish priest or the priest from Skalitz, either way. And in so doing, she could have still either preached herself under appropriate circumstances, or had him preach the message from Our Lady that she needed to spread, and it would have been again him doing it. And so, if he got it wrong, that's on him. But if he gets it right, then it's on her. So, in general, I think that it's very much a best case scenario that she sort of goes through. She goes through someone who has an appropriate level of authority. I still have armorer's kits, right? I don't need 15 of them. I have a bunch. Okay.
I'm honored that you should come to me. Goodbye.
Anything in here to sell that I need to sell? No, I don't think so. I do need to buy tailor's kits. The tailor is open, I hope, right? Again, I mean, really, that is the whole purpose of structures of authority. It's to protect both people involved. It's to protect everybody involved. Right? Especially natural structures of authority. Authority that is, divinely granted and all of that. Buy both of those. And those just in case, because I always am using Taylor's kits. Always using Taylor's kits. Like, it's almost a problem. There. Alright, cool. Alright, well, let's get back on the horse, and let's go to bed. Well, to bed for now. Wait for this tourney to start tomorrow. We'll see what else to do next, huh? We have some other various side quests as well we can do, and also a couple more DLC quests we can do too. Let's see. So we got the tourney, obviously. I don't know if we're going to do this quest for the charlatan. I don't know, maybe. Find Sir Divish's locator. Oh, that was a side quest. That's right. We might do that. That was supposed to be a good one. This one, the Kuno's encampment, that is that's a DLC quest, a significant one. These are both this is the main story quest. It's in Sasau. Mike says, you were saying something about how she should have sent Henry on sacramental pilgrimage. She did send Henry on a pilgrimage. So from from Sasau, had him walk barefoot, I should add, all the way to Ujits up here. And then pray to and there's a church dedicated to Mary in Ujits. And so to have him pray for forgiveness for his sins there, and to make a donation to the church. This is a good thing. This is a penitential act, and it's certainly something that one can take on. And it's the kind of thing that one can take on voluntarily as an act of penance. I mean, this is Lent. This is what we do in Lent. We take on acts of penance of our own accord. However, she did not, throughout this process, encourage him to sacramental confession, whereas she should have. It would be far more appropriate for Henry to actually confess sacramentally to a priest, rather than simply pray to God directly and to go on this pilgrimage as an act of sort of personal mortification. So if that pilgrimage had included, when you get there, go to confession, make a sacramental confession, then that would have been perfectly appropriate, and that would have been there would have been absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. It would be honestly beyond reproach. As it stands, though, there is an argument to be made that what she is doing is sort of supplanting the sacramental life of the church. At least the sacrament of confession. And so, despite the significantly Marian elements of her message, her devotion, whatever you call it, whatever you'd say, despite that, it has some elements of this sort of private, personal spirituality, endemic to sort of earlier proto-Protestantism, that are a real significant problem, especially at this time. This is the early 14th century. Early 15th century. This is coming up very precariously upon the Protestant Reformation. That's 100 years later, give or take. It's about 100 years later than this. And so there are a lot of like proto-Protestant sects going around that are starting to do these sorts of things. Sort of just me and Jesus kind of things, or just including just me and Mary kind of things too. Sit and wait for a little while. So, like I said, there was certainly a lot of good about what she was doing, and I do tend to think that the apparitions were genuine, and the message was genuine because she was calling people to virtue and to repentance and to all of these good and glorious things that are very common in Marian apparitions, especially at the time. And all the evidence that we just presented, things like that she didn't know how to read, she was not educated, she would have had no way of knowing how to do the things she was doing and how to say the things she was saying. A source in heaven is a far better explanation for what was going on than really much of anything else. Yeah, Wycliffe. Wycliffe was actually mentioned in some of the dialogue.
Greetings.
Yeah, in the 1380s. Wycliffe and his terrible heresies were actually mentioned. Or Wycliffe, I guess. He is from England. He's from England, so they pronounced it Wycliffe because we're vaguely Germanic here in Bohemia. So whatever. Wycliffe was mentioned in the conversation you have with the bishop's assistant, who was talking about about how this case is sort of representative of a lot of the problems that are going on around Christendom right now. Because I think this is 1408, or something very close to that. It's the summer of 1408, if I'm even closer. Can I do this tournament?
God be with you, lad.
He's talking about the Waldensians. There's a whole quest about the Waldensians, chasing them down, and they're basically just
as long as you've got the enrollment stake. Sir Hanish's rule is every contestant has to put up 3 score groschen.
They're yeah, that's it.
Of course.
I try to think of exactly what their doctrines remind me of. They're sort of proto-Calvinist.
And I need to know what weapon you choose.
Longsword.
It was actually pretty. It was just before you got on. Actually, it was.
Get yourself ready.
About 50 minutes into the stream, give or take, something along those lines. I might cut pieces and parts of that out into shorts as well, because there's some good talk in there. So feel free to go back through either now or after the fact or whatever. There was also the quest with the Waldensians, which I'll link to whichever stream that was as well after the fact. I'll put it in the description. Because that was quite the thing. There was this whole quest line where you're going after these Waldensian heretics and trying to put a stop to them. And they were very Protestant. You done?
Bollocks!
How he got me.
Take that!
You done? Come on.
Don't be dead!
Right in the chin. Ow. At least he's got a coif that goes up pretty high. Scythe Mike says, I remember that quest. It's just been ages. I don't remember the details or if I ever finished it. Yeah, I did it. It was
Change weapons.
it was a group of, it was basically a family group and some neighbors who were Waldensians. They were First of all, there was some equality of the sexes stuff going on. And then also, so in addition to the sort of equality of the sexes stuff, there was a lot of... Ow, jeez. There were, like, some changes to the Lord's Prayer that were doctrinally significant and things like that.
Curse it!
Got him. Got him good. Fascinating, all this stuff happened in the West to a higher degree than the Orthodox East. That is true. It is to our shame that it is to our Westerners' shame that we produce Protestantism.
Having proved his combat
Then again,
skills in this round and emerged victorious, he shall proceed to the next round
then again,
of the Ratai
the
tournament.
East was absolutely full of schism. To the point where we have archbishops excommunicating each other left and right, even in this time period. So there's certainly that. That's certainly a concern. And then also things like various doctrinal issues in the East, most of which center around a dedication to a lack of clarity, as I usually put it. They are insistent. Eastern thinkers in general, and this applies to Eastern Catholics even. It's just the Eastern sensibility, really. Yeah, so this is not just the Orthodox way of thinking. This is Eastern Catholic as well. Where they are absolutely dedicated to not committing to a particular interpretation of the doctrine. You got me. Got me pretty good. Maybe I should play a little defensive here. Oh, that was a good one. Keep going for the head. Just break his helmet open.
What?
This guy's head is just not having a good day.
Had enough?
All right.
The victor of the first duel is...
Yeah, Eastern Christians tend to have this obsession, not to be too dismissive, but this obsession with mystery, to the point of
this one may decide the winner.
Intentionally leaving doctrines undefined when they perfectly well could be defined. Like, they refuse to accept transubstantiation as their doctrine of the real presence, even though they hold to the doctrine of the real presence. They just refuse to define what it means. They refuse to define what the real presence means. Because they would rather it be undefined and not have a solid doctrine that, for fear of not fully and completely explaining it. They don't want to say that, this is the explanation of it, because that implies that it's the full explanation of it. Whereas we in the West, we're perfectly comfortable with a, with an explanation of something which we understand is not exhaustive. Like, I know that transubstantiation is still a mystery in the sense that it doesn't completely capture the Eucharist, right? The nature of it doesn't completely capture the nature of God becoming fully present in the sacred species. Donk.
You're dead.
Oh, it's nasty. Nice. Mike says, yes, the East is definitely less definitional as it comes to specifics, but they're generally more mystical. The Divine Liturgy of St. Chrysostom is one of the most beautiful things I've seen. And that's true. That's true. There is, I think, really a trade-off there, and I don't think you can do both. You can do both as successfully. I don't think you can have the mysticality of the East and the precision of the West, the sort of doctrinal or theological or philosophical precision of the West. I do think that these two things kind of, they have to be a trade-off, to some degree at least. You can get a balance. You can get a balance between the two, and I skew very, very far towards that Western sensibility. I'm a philosopher, right, by training and by sentiment. I absolutely... Oh, ouchies. God, this isn't going so well. I absolutely will take every chance I get to be as precise as possible. Even if that sort of demystifies things. That said, I recognize that my extreme philosophical precision and almost over-intellectualization of the faith is in no way the only thing that the Church needs. The Church needs that mysticality to it, that mysticism, that
will surely be no less exciting. This one may decide the winner.
Devotion to mystery as well. I just think that at least as far as I go too far, I think that the Orthodox tend to go too far in the opposite direction. Which is to admit that I kind of go too far with it, at least some of the time. Because it is to the detriment, in some sense, to my spiritual life. I have basically no sentimentality about the faith. The only sentimental thing that I really have at all is surrounding the Eucharist, and I mean, I've said this before. The only like real sentimental religious experience I've had has been before the Eucharist. Ow, that'd be good. Praise God for both Aquinas and the mystic side like John of the Cross. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Ow, ouchies, got me good.
Most back up on.
Donk. That was a good hit right in the noggin.
Oh, be travel.
Donk. I'm having too much fun just hitting him in the head. Look at his nose plate. It's... Oh, God. Got him. You're here.
Lords and ladies, good men and good wives, you have just witnessed the final duel in today's Ratai tourney, for which we
Flawless
all owe
victory.
gratitude to Sir Hanush of Laipa.
I mean, flawless. I got hit a few times, but I didn't go down
Henry of
once.
Skalitz, man-at-arms in the company of Sir Radzik Komila. His prize will be given to him by our gracious Sir Hanush.
Yeah, Mike, absolutely right. I think St. Thomas would agree, ultimately. He compared his writings to straw against the Eucharist. Not dismissively, keep in mind. There are a lot of people who take that quote too far and think that he was recanting or something, or saying that or thinking that he wasted his work or something like that. But no. It is only that Hanish.
You put on a hell of a show.
I got an axe.
Here's your hard-earned reward.
Nice.
Thank you, Sir Hanush.
Good luck, then.
But it's also it is that that there's a lot more to the faith than doctrine. Oh gosh, C.S. Lewis, as usual, has a fantastic sort of allegorical description of this. Let's do this one. Why not? Yeah, let's do this one. What's this? Oh, it's from Peshek. Yeah, it's C.S. Lewis's sort of allegorical explanation of the importance of theology, but not the utmost importance of theology, is this idea that that there is a significant difference between a map and a landscape. Or I think he actually uses a map and the sea. And he says that there's a real significant difference between a map of the Atlantic and the Atlantic. Here we go. Charisma 15. Why do I even have those? I'm just going to keep those to sell them. I don't actually need them. Keep the jacket. All right, let's go see what Teresa's up to. There's a big difference between a map of the Atlantic and the Atlantic.
I've got something for you.
It is.
I got them from Uncle Peshek. Just don't go poking them where you shouldn't.
Okay.
They're lockpicks. They're not really intended for poking in your own locks.
True, but at least don't get caught. And if you do, you didn't get them from me.
Okay then. So yeah, I before we go and do anything, I want to bring up that I want to finish this thought, right? That there's a big difference between a map of the Atlantic and the Atlantic itself. And you might say that the map of the Atlantic Ocean does not capture the beauty and the wonder of actually being there, sailing across, or even staring off of the shore from the beach and seeing the sunrise or the sunset over it. Nothing like that. It's nothing like that is captured in the map. However, the map will tell you infinitely more about the Atlantic than sailing around on it. And so, no, this is, I think this is for Mere Christianity. I think in book 3, might be 4, but I think it's book 3. When he goes into talking about precise issues of theology. And it's a great metaphor, I think, that because the map tells you a lot about the Atlantic, but it's not doing anything. It's not useful for you at all unless you're actually planning on going there, right? The map is useful because it's a guide to something. And the thing is there, and the wonder is all wonderful. It's all great and stuff, but you can't really approach it thoroughly without the map. And so this is theology and mysticism. The mystical experience is like that beautiful experience of seeing the ocean. But theology is like the map that allows us to understand it. And these two have to go together. Like, one is useless without the other, and they're both useless without each other. They have to work together. Now, some of us will overemphasize one over the other, and I certainly do. I'm absolutely far more of a philosopher and a theologian than I am a mystic, or even I'll even say even my own like spirituality is a very intellectual spirituality rather than sentimental or emotional or anything like that. And that's just because I'm a particularly intellectual and almost anti-emotional kind of guy, being first of all male, second of all a philosopher, and third of all, I don't know, probably mildly autistic. I don't, and a libertarian, for that matter. I don't really put much emphasis on feelings, really in any context. And that is kind of a fault within me, honestly. That's something I'm kind of missing. And I can acknowledge that. And it's something I'm missing, but it's something I'm missing really temperamentally. And I don't think it's anything I could really realistically change. And even if I could probably only do so by diminishing the virtues that I already have. And so it's a flaw, but it's a flaw that is sort of outbalanced by some other things, by other benefits and other good things. It comes down to the fact that we as human beings are finite. We will have deficiencies in some places and excellences in others. And if you try and sort of flatten yourself out, you'll become boring. Sadly. Yeah. Mike says, love some maps, love some sailing. See, I like maps a lot more than I like sailing. Both literally and figuratively, by the way. This is another thing, too, is because I play games and stuff, not just video games, but I play like Dungeons and Dragons and other RPGs and things. And I'm a forever DM. I much prefer running games to playing in them. And part of that is because I like sort of designing the world a lot more than I like actually living in it or playing in it or working in it or seeing where the story goes. I want the whole thing to be plotted out and planned out. It's also because I don't do things like, if I were to write fiction, which I should never do, I'm bad at it. But if I were to do so, I could do things like environmental descriptions. That could be fine. I could do things like overall plot structure and plotting and things. I'm actually quite good at that. But if you ask me to write dialogue, you have made a terrible mistake if you ask me to write dialogue. I write dialogue like George Lucas writes dialogue, The kind of thing that would make Harrison Ford tie me up in a closet and make me read my own scripts kind of dialogue. Like, it's, if I could find some of my old like student project, like my old like high school project student films that I wrote all the dialogue for.
Hey, lad.
Don't
you want a little wager on the
pretty damn bad. It's pretty damn bad.
Wouldn't you like to take a stroll somewhere?
I'd love to.
All right, so where to? Where are we going? What is out there? And why are we just going through the wall?
Henry, I don't want to complicate things, but how do you think it will be between the two of us? After all that's happened to us both, you're all I have left in my life, but you've got a lot of work for Sir Radzig and I'm afraid you'll have to leave me too.
Have no fear. I'll never leave you. Wherever my duties might take me, we'll still be together. After all, you're all that's left to me too. And even though everything might change...
Henry, will you promise me something?
Henry doesn't think these things through, so he's going to go for it. Absolutely.
Anything.
Promise me you'll take care of yourself. Even if you were to go away for a long time and meet other girls. If I were to lose you too, I don't know what I'd do.
Ah, Teresa.
Just promise me.
I promise.
Thank you. I know it's a hard thing to promise, but... You know, well, we ought to be heading back. I still have work to do. Besides, you don't want to see me crying like a baby here.
Definitely not. You'd start me off too.
Right then, let's go.
Oh, that was cute. Mike says, lol, like those Elder Scrolls 4 dialogue memes. Listen, I make the dialogue in Oblivion look stellar by comparison.
The time passes so quickly with you, Henry. Come and see me again sometime.
Sure. See, it's at this stage where, yeah, I know there's especially economic issues and whatnot, dowry and things like that I can be concerned with, but it's at this point where I have to wonder, like, I have to ask, why the hell did they just not just get married? If they're already committing to her coming along with him, if his work takes him elsewhere, why the hell not just get married? I mean, they might as well, really. It's not like Henry isn't, like, absolutely fabulously wealthy.
Yeah.
I mean, that is another... I will say, the incredible amount of wealth that you can acquire in this game is a bit of ludonarrative dissonance, because I never get the impression, like, despite being unbelievably well-equipped and unbelievably well-dressed and all of that, I never quite get the impression that, speaking of, that Henry is meant to be particularly particularly wealthy, and that the fact that he is excessively wealthy feels odd to me. It feels like it doesn't quite fit the character that that Henry has an inordinate amount of wealth. Because, like, look down there, right down there. I have 55,000 groschen in my pockets. Also, I have like another 60 or 70,000 in the chest. In Teresa's house, for that matter. I mean, yes. I mean, well, that's not quite true. You make a terrible husband always running off on quests for an RPG. I mean, kind of, but... I mean, here's the thing. I think the longest I have gone, even in game terms, the longest I've gone without stopping back by the mill has probably been less than a week. So I mean, realistically, it's not like I'm leaving for weeks on end on military campaigns or anything like that.
I'll be with you. I'm looking
Or if
for
I do,
Sakuno.
it's very rare.
Sakuno? Baron Rickvold. Isn't this his camp?
He doesn't speak Czech, does he?
You won't get nothing out of him. You must be
Okay.
Radzig's man. I heard he was supposed to send someone.
Yes, Sir Radzig sent me as a guide. I'm Henry.
I'm Jakey. And this here fella, we call the Stone.
I can see why. What's up with him? Cat got his tongue?
No, more like the dog got it. The executioner's dog. When the executioner ripped it out of him. Anyway, you better come along with me. I'll introduce you to the other fella.
That's not what I thought was
Chief.
happening, but it is very typical for a quest like this. Mike says, you are a pretty badass warrior, though. Yeah, absolutely.
These here are
Henry is an
very
unstoppable force of destruction.
Yeah, they're a
in
barrel
full
of
plate.
laughs, except when they're too drunk to string two words together. Like now. Don't get on the wrong side of them, though. When their blood is up, well, it ain't a pretty sight.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, I'm sure.
Never mind the fancy poses, Stefan. You're trying to kill the fucker, not teach him how to dance. And you, Dangler, stand your ground.
Really back in time for dinner? I mean, I could be, though. That's the other thing.
Sir? Well, sir, this is Henry. From Lord Kobula.
Ah, it's about time Radzig got round to this. We need someone who knows their way around these parts. Leave off with the bowing and curtsying. We don't hold with that tomfoolery here. Jakey! Where the hell are you sneaking off to? Go to the farm and get water. The lads are thirsty.
But I went last time.
And you'll go next time, you ungrateful pup. Get your ass moving. Snot-nosed brat. You pull them out of a pile of shit, and they thank you with back talk. Where were we? Oh yeah. We need a guide who knows these parts. So I hope I can rely on you, Herman.
It's Henry.
Right. Well, as I said to Radzig, I don't want to carry any dead weight. We could find ourselves in some very tight situations where every sword counts.
I know how to handle a sword, all right?
I've heard a lot of fellas say that. They still ended up on the wrong end of one. We'll find out.
Yes, we will.
Take a break. Dangler.
I'm almost max
Find
level
out
at this
what
point.
Harold here can do.
Sure. No problem, Chief.
How many wrong names is he going to use? I'm curious. Ow, you got me.
Now. No, kurwa!
Ooh, he got me. It's a good hit.
I'll wipe my ass with you!
Here says, I like this guy. Very Scorpio. Yeah, very much so. I mean, he's a mercenary captain. There we go. Got him.
You didn't fare badly at all, I must say. You can ride with us.
All right. Good.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Don't thank me yet. You don't know what you're letting yourself in for.
Sir Kuno, can you tell me something about yourself?
Drop the sir. That title brought me nothing but grief. But what do you want to know?
What about your debt to Sir Radzig? How did that come about?
A twist of fate, lad. I was fighting in the hostilities between the House of Schallenberg and the town of Colleen. Some trade dispute it was, and I fought under the Schallenberg colours. In the end, the two sides negotiated a truce, and I rode to Colleen with the delegation that was to parley there. We stopped off at an inn on the way, and it was there that I met Radzig Kobyla. I could tell at first sight he was a man after my own heart. A likeable rogue, with a sharp mind and a merry soul. We spent the whole night drinking together and talking, and in the morning we set off together, with sore heads, but in good temper, since he was travelling the Colleen same as I was. Only, once we reached the city gates, they arrested me on the spot. Seems the burghers had it in for me, since I'd been making their lives hell for a good 6 months. On the other hand, I was a member of the peace delegation, so by rights, they shouldn't have even looked at me sideways. And then it hit me why Radzig was there. Colleen is a royal city, so he was there to represent the king's interests.
I see. So he was on the other side.
That's right. Anyway, they threw me in a dungeon, and a few days later, word reached me that the Schallenbergs had reached an agreement with the burghers. Only part of the deal was they would give them my head. And I'd surely have ended my days swinging from the town battlements if it hadn't been for Radzig. He liked me, and he could see it was a dirty trick, so he somehow squared things with the city council.
Lucky for you.
Indeed. I owe my life to Radzig, and I'll never forget it. He's asked me twice before for help. This is the third time, and how could I refuse him?
He even kind of looks like Scorpio, doesn't he?
So Radzig told me the Rickvold family lost its wealth. How did that happen?
There's all sorts of ways to become impoverished. Nothing easier, especially when your father's a fool and your mother's mad as a bat.
Oh.
Sounds like Scorpio.
But it's a long and twisted story.
Good night, Mike. God bless.
We took our name from Rickvold Castle, but that actually belonged to the convent of the Poor Clares in Tynitz, and my father only leased it. You see, he knew the abbess there since they were young. Knew her very well.
I see.
There was even talk that she only joined the order because her family wouldn't let her marry him. Anyway, whether he was fucking her right there in the convent, or he just took a lot of interest in scripture, he spent an awful lot of time in Tynitz.
I mean, I've been spending time in Sasau in the monastery.
Well, nobles can be very devout sometimes.
Not my old man. He cursed like a tanner's hand. More than once, he threatened to take a whip to our parish priest. Anyway, my mother never had strong nerves.
Maybe not then.
Truth be told, her sanity was always shaky. Pa's escapades drove her cuckoo entirely. Then, one frosty December morning,
like his armor.
I was woken by screaming and smoke. I looked out the window, and I saw my mother there, in the courtyard, wreathed in flames. Behind her, the stables, the farm buildings, and the tower were burning too. And she just stood there, shrieking with laughter.
Christ, that sounds like a scene straight out of hell.
Hellish it was, I can tell you. Me and my sister Adela and a few servants managed to get out before the whole place went up. I couldn't get to my father. Or my little brother. Poor lad was only 7. My sister and I were left destitute after the fire. But then my cousin, Adam of Drevich, took us into his castle. A few weeks later, he offered to buy what was left of our estates and sell me a small fortress near Akovnik. It was a great relief. We suddenly had some hope of a future again. So I told my sister about it. And it was the biggest mistake of my life. A week later, the two of them announced to me they were getting married. And all that was left of our estates, lands, woods, villages, Adela was to get it all as a dowry.
But surely that was for you to decide. You were the head of the family, right?
Aye. Only I barely had 17 years under my belt, and I'd just lost everything. Of course, I argued with them. And that was the only excuse they needed to kick me out of Drevich too.
That's pretty harsh.
You're telling me. But I'm not complaining. As my pa always used to say, if you can turn your hand to something, you'll never be lost. I doubt it ever crossed his mind how often I'd remember those words.
So really, like I said, I really like his armor. He's got the brigandine, which is actually a really nice brigandine. It's like triple riveted and everything. It's really nice. But it's only a brigandine like breastplate. It's not the full thing because he also has the banded arm guards. What are those called? It's not technically brigandine because it's not covered over with leather or anything. But they're basically the upper and lower arm guards. So the band braces and the upper arm guards are those banded mail type things, with various other armor bits and really nice but very simple pauldrons. Chainmail gorgot, nice thick gambes underneath. The whole thing comes together really nicely. I really like it. Open face helmet, which I mean, maybe dumb, but I mean, he's a very character-y character, so you need the face. But that's actually something that bugs me. Like, why can't Henry just, like, in conversation at least, just pull that helmet up so we can see him? I'd really like to see his expression instead of just this. And that's it.
I'd like to ask about your men.
Ask away.
Like I said, check this out. That's so nice.
What about the fellow they call Dangler?
I've never ridden with a better man, I can tell you.
Nice.
He doesn't say a lot, but for that, he listens all the better. Nothing escapes him.
So he scouts for you?
Not just that. It's happened more than once. I was closing a deal with someone, and Dangler told me after that he didn't like the smell of the fellow. Nearly every time he was right.
Notice that the brigandine goes quite low as well. That's actually one of the huge benefits of a brigandine over proper plate, is that it doesn't need a fold. It doesn't need like a separate armor piece to work as a fold below the waist, because a brigandine is flexible enough, because it's overlapping plates underneath the leather, that you can bend at the waist and have coverage be continuous down to your upper thighs, which is a really good benefit to a brigandine. Like it's why a plate harness isn't just strictly superior. There are benefits to brigandine, even over plate. I still think plate does offer more protection, and it's in general slightly less cumbersome in a lot of ways. But brigandine certainly has its benefits, and it's got a great look to it. I mean, you can have a combat jacket like Henry's got, and that's got some nice swagger to it as well. But I really like the look of this guy.
Those Behrman brothers are quite a pair.
Indeed they are. There's no more mercy in them than
good beard too.
Well, a bear. If I told them to skewer you on the spot, they'd do it without batting an eyelid.
Jesus.
Oh, aye. They'd argue first about which one of them got to do the job. But they're as obedient as a huntsman's dogs. Real soldiers, the pair of them. Reliable. As long as they don't get too drunk. Then there's no keeping them under control. But nobody's perfect.
I'm gonna lament D&D 5th edition again oversimplifying, and they got rid of a lot of armor types, including banded mail, which is basically the name for brigandine, because brigandine is a great sort of medium armor between just a gambeson or armor pieces here and there, and the heavier armor types like plate mail and even chain. A brigandine tends to be overall lighter than a full suit of chainmail, because the plates can manage to be thinner, and it's they're overlapping in a particular kind of way rather than it just being basically that thick rings of steel all over the place, which is actually a really cool. I don't know. It's a really cool It's a really cool armor type. I really like it. I like Brigandine. Okay, it's cool. I dig it, and I like it on this guy too. He wears it well with the appropriate additional armor pieces.
What can you tell me about Stefan?
Fletching? For one thing, he's a very resourceful fellow.
How did he come to join your band?
Well, let's just say he was in the right place at the right time. You'll find he has quite a knack for that.
What exactly happened?
Sorry, I'd love to tell you the whole story, but I'd be betraying his trust.
Oh, now you've got me curious. Maybe I should ask him myself.
Sure, why not? Our Fletch does love to converse.
What about Jakey?
Jakey? That boy will be the death of me. You've got to be tough on him, or he's good for nothing. But I'm fond of him, in a way.
Like a son?
I wouldn't go that far. But I've no family of my own. And unlike those other cutthroats, he seems to me like a good lad.
Oh no, he's going to die.
And the others keep him on his toes too.
The boy needs a firm hand. I was like him once, and I got the same too. If we let him be, we'd end up with a third bear man. And who'd want that?
True. 2 is more than enough.
He's Corbin. Uh-oh.
What about that dumb one? How did he end up with you?
The stone? Oh, he just kind of tagged along.
Just like that?
Aye, just like that. We were riding from Olomouc to a castle past Kladsko when we ran into him and some other wayfarers camping along the way. You know how it goes. We made acquaintance with them, had a drink or two. Then we travelled on together. After all, there's safety in numbers.
I'm not sure I'd be thinking that if I ran into you lot on the road.
We might have done some things I ain't proud of. But wayfarers are sacred even for me. Anyway, our fellow travellers dropped off along the way. One in Mohelnitz, one in Schoenberg, and the rest in Kladsko. Except for the stone. He stuck with us the whole way. The fellas kept asking him what he was after, but of course he never said a word. When we were approaching Barsdorf, I ordered the men to get rid of him. I had some business at the castle, and I didn't want any strangers sticking their noses in. Stefan tried to tell him nicely, but he just sat there, staring like he was turned to stone. That's when we gave him the name. Then the Bearman brothers tried to get him off his horse. He booted Jan in the face and knocked him out cold. Then he jumped down and felled Petter with one punch.
Good Lord.
A man who can do that is a man you want on your side. So we kept him.
Weren't you worried about having a stranger in your band?
All right.
Especially one who didn't talk.
No, I figured if he can't talk, he can't tell. Besides, I've had worse.
All right then. Cool.
Should we ride out?
No point in going out now. It'll soon be dark. Come back at first light and we'll get going.
All right.
You can sleep here in the camp if you want. There's room enough. And you ought to get better acquainted with the fellas.
All right, so let's talk to them. We got 20 minutes. So let's talk to the fellas, as he says. And then, nothing here. And then we'll probably call it a night for our stream when we call it a night for Henry. And we will start off next time. This is quite a weird little tour. We'll start off next time going on patrol with these guys. I have to assume that we're going to get into mounted combat, which I don't know. I am a bit rather skeptical about mounted combat in this game. I've only very slightly tried it, barely once, and I did not like it. This game's combat system seems like it is very much optimized for being on foot, and that trying to do things on a horse... Let's just say that I don't anticipate hitting very much. Hey, Stefan.
Stefan, can you tell me something about yourself?
What is it you want to know, youngster?
I'm curious how you ended up in Kuno's band.
I like
notice
this
I
guy
don't
already.
exactly fit in with this pack of felons and reprobates, huh? Unfortunately, you can't always choose your company, can you?
No, I suppose not. But how did you come to be with them?
Oh, well, I'd love to tell you, but Kuno insisted we keep that between the two of us. And I'm not one to break a confidence.
Oh.
Wait.
But, well, Kuno said it was
Wait.
you who wanted to keep it secret.
Really? Are you sure about that? You must have misunderstood him.
No, I don't think so. At least... Oh, never mind.
Okay.
So, where did you live before? What did you do?
I used to live in a town before. Back there I was doing something very different. Although, now I think of it, maybe it wasn't that different in a way. If you know what I mean.
Actually, I haven't the foggiest idea what you mean. You don't give anything away, do you?
Me? I'm an open book, lad. Ask me anything you like, and I'll give you an honest answer. Go on.
Maybe another time. My head's starting to spin.
As you wish. Shame, though. There's nothing I enjoy more than conversing.
There's nothing I enjoy more than not saying anything
Fancy throwing a few
with
dice?
lots of words. God, he... talks very much like... I don't want it to fall on a 3. Lucky die. Alright, let's see this.
St. George, guide my hand.
Anyway, roll again. That'll do. Playing conservatively.
That's it. No luck tonight.
Okay. He's talking like a politician, basically. Saying as little as possible in as many words as he can. It's a 6. Okay, good to know. Again.
If I was in your shoes, I'd pass while the going is good.
No. That's the coward's way out. Okay. That'll do. Oh my god! You gonna roll that again?
God's holy hat.
God's holy hat. Amen, friend. Amen. 2, 3, 4? No. Let's roll again. Again.
You'd lose everything.
No. I have all 6 dice this time. Keep going.
Not afraid of anything, eh?
Wait, that's it. I should stop.
Holy
I won.
Mother of God, why do you punish me?
Alright, there we go. Do love this. I love the dice game in this game. What are these buffs? What is this? Oh, smitten. Oh, nice. My constitution's up because I was just hanging out with Teresa. Anything I'm missing here? Oh god. A lot. But there's a lot of skills I can't get. I need to work on axe, mace, and bow. Maxed out sword. Unarmed, I don't bother with as much as I probably should. Oh, well. Okay. That's it then, huh? Alright, well, I guess I'll sleep, huh? My food, nourishment at. Okay, pretty good. I'll have a wine before I sleep. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, well, I guess we'll start this tonight. We still have 15 minutes. 5 a.m. is first flight, right? I mean, it's supposed to be. It says it is. Okay. Everyone else is already sleeping. Still sleeping. And let's see what this is it. Let's see what's in here. Oh, jeez. Yeah, they're all still sleeping. It's fine. God. There. There's nothing in there. Oh, God. They have a very well locked chest with nothing in it. How about yours? I just want to see what's in here. I have really no plans of stealing anything. Yeah, see? There's nothing in here. I know what I figured. I'm assuming there's nothing in here either. Oh, there's stuff in here. Ooh. That's nice. It's his, I take it. I mean, I can take the 200 groschen, I guess, but... Nah. Why? 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 Okay, I'm gonna wait for everybody else to wake up then, huh? Because we got 10 more minutes. I think we can actually start our patrol. Or at least talk to every... Yeah, you know what? No. When everyone wakes up, I'll talk to everybody first, because I still have to talk to some people. I mean, not the stone, because I don't think... I somehow doubt he will say anything. And I'm not going to talk to Sakuno yet. I still want to talk to Dangler and these other folks. Stefan? No, not really. Peter. better.
Tell me something about yourself.
What do you want to know?
How did you and Jan end up with Kuno?
Me and my brother been riding with coinmen since we was little. This was just another mercenary band for us. But Kuno seemed like a decent kind of fellow who'd treat us fair.
Okay. Alright, fair enough. Alright, everybody else is gradually waking up too. I want to talk to Jakey. I want to see really about what he's all about, what he's doing
What
here.
is it, Jakey?
The stone wants to talk with you, if you can call it that. Probably about that ring.
What ring?
Ah, no one told you about it. The fellas call it the Ring of Bacchus. It's a kind of game we play. Kuno gave us this ring. It's just a worthless bauble. But when we're at the tavern, Kuno pays everything for the man who has the ring. So we steal the ring from each other and try to trick each other. Well, actually, just the others. They won't let me play. Kuno says I'm too young to get boozed up.
That sounds like a lot
How
of fun.
old are you?
But I don't have the ring, so why does the stone want to see me?
He probably wants you to steal it from someone. Since you're new, the fellows will talk to you, and it won't be suspicious.
All right. I'll have a word with him. Hey, Jakey, can you tell me something about yourself?
Want to get matey, eh? Sure, Henry. What do you want to know?
How did you end up in Kuno's band?
Well, I used to be a baker's hand in Prague, but all the other fellas were always on my back, always swearing at me. Sometimes they even beat me up, took everything I had. To make a bit of coin, I started going to the tavern across the road, entertaining the rich gents with jokes, playing the fool. Sometimes someone would throw me a half-groschen. One time, Kuno turned up there, and I got to talking with him. When I told him all the shit I was getting at the bakery, he offered to take me with him.
I bet you were glad to get out of there.
Yeah, though it's not like they give me much peace here either. It's all,
Jakey, come here. Jakey, go there. Jakey, get that.
Well, surely you can't be any worse off here than in the bakery.
no. Only, at the bakery, the worst I ever got was a beating. It's not like my life was in danger. But here, when those Bierman brothers are drunk, I have to keep well out of sight.
How come they bullied you at the bakery? It's usually the shy ones bullies pick on. That's not exactly you.
Not now, maybe. I learned a thing or two since then.
Oh, come on, you shy? You just said you were playing the fool and telling jokes in the tavern.
All right, I'll tell you the truth. They picked on me because I'm an orphan. The parish priest of St. Apollinaire's in Prague found me as a baby in the church one winter's morning. I spent half my childhood in parish houses and half on the street.
I see. That must have been tough.
It still is tough, I can tell you that.
Alright, I guess I'll go talk to the stone. Where'd he go? Or I'll talk to Dangler first. How about that?
Can you tell me something about yourself?
What do you want to know?
Why do they call you Dangler?
Because Kuno found me dangling on the end of a rope.
Ah, I see. So, he saved you from execution?
I wouldn't call it an execution exactly. At the time I was squire to the Lord of Boozitz. There was a proper knight for you, full of ideals and honour. I looked up to him as a hero. Then in one skirmish he was killed, and the foe took me captive. They stood me on a shaky wooden cross with my hands tied behind my back and a noose around my neck, for amusement. Then they rode off laughing.
How long were you stuck there?
I couldn't tell you. Hours, maybe days. In the end, everything started going black. I could feel the devil pulling me down by the legs.
Jesus! How on earth did you survive?
I didn't. When Kuno found me, he says I was dead as a doornail. They cut me down and took the rope off me. Then someone gave me a kick and I coughed and came back to life. Sort of.
Sort of? do you mean, sort of? Are you a zombie? That's pretty badass. Also, it sounds... His voice almost sounds like someone's trying to do a not very good impression of The Witcher.
Jakey sent me to you. Something about a ring?
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you want me to get it from someone?
Mm-hmm.
Who has it? Does Dangler have it? Alright. How should I get it?
Great.
Why are you creeping around? Fuck, a thief! There's a pickpocket here!
What?
No!
Are you serious?
Ha! Had enough!
Stop it.
What's the matter? Come on! You've got to be kidding.
I'm gonna enjoy this.
Stop! Are you serious? Guys, stop. Stop it. Okay, this is absurd. Okay, maybe if I just ride away and come back, everything will be fine. Or they're going to chase me on horseback. That's also a possibility. They're still chasing. Okay, they're done. They're done chasing. Maybe I can go back now. Unless I just completely ruined the entire quest line by trying to complete the quest. Oh my god. Hi, friends.
Hey, I want the Ring of Bacchus. I heard you have it.
So you come and ask me for it. That's a novel approach.
Well, you don't just have to steal it from each other. Why not play for it?
I don't play dice, but we can duel for it.
Sure.
Right. Why not?
I'll wager the ring, and you put up some groschen, all right?
Sure. I'll wager
200 is a big bet for this. Wait,
Now
we have
we'll
the
do
same
it.
sword.
Well, now it's something worth fighting for.
Oh, we do. We have the same
out.
sword. That's interesting. Why did he have such a fancy sword?
Show what you're made of. Oh.
You got me good. All right, all right. Gotcha. Donk. Right in the noggin. this is probably going to have to be the last thing we do for tonight.
Oh, fair fight. Well, I don't like giving it up. Well, at least I won't get so plastered next time. Just watch how it doesn't get pinched.
I'll do that. Thanks.
Okay. Where the hell's the stone? Oh, there he is. Alright, I'm going to give the ring to the stone, like he asked, because he's the one who asked me for it.
I got the ring from Dangler. Yeah, well, I suppose there's not much more either of us can say about it. Yeah, thanks to you too.
Did it give me something for it? Ooh. Ooh. Got it. Wow, I get a skill book. I'm gonna sit down and read the skill book as I do my my done talking, my, wrapping up speech kind of thing. So anyway, that is about all that we have time for tonight. I'm going to finish up by reading this book, and then how long will this take? Oh my gosh, 5 hours? That's fine. Let's do this. Anyway, so thank you all so much for joining me. I had a good time tonight. I hope you did too. I think Wednesday is working just fine, although both Mondays and Wednesdays I may wind up starting a little bit after 9 o'clock some of the time. Might get home late, might need to get ready, say goodnight to the kids, all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to rush it. So if we start a little bit after 9, that's okay. I'm still shooting for 9 o'clock. I'm still going to say 9 o'clock. The schedule is still going to be 9 o'clock. But, like I said, be flexible with me on delays, if you don't mind. I will try not to be more than 15-20 minutes late. And it will still start around 9 p.m. Oh, a perk. Yeah, sure. Anyway, so that is all the time we have tonight. So thank you all one more time for joining me. I did have a wonderful time tonight. I'm glad you joined me. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. And keep an eye on the channel. I am planning on having some of my upcoming classes recorded, and I should have those uploaded over the next several days. We'll see exactly when. Editing may take some time, but you know, we'll see. We'll see how quick they can get those up. And hope you enjoy following along with my class lectures. I hope you enjoy following along with the streams. I will say, I am hopefully. I'm hoping to be able to play Hogwarts Legacy at some point on this channel. It'll probably be either after Andromeda or after Kingdom Come Deliverance. Probably after Kingdom Come Deliverance. I expect that one to be done sooner. Probably at least. And I do hope to play Hogwarts Legacy next. However, that is assuming my computer is capable of running the thing coherently. I have tried it out a bit. And it's a little jittery here and there on pretty low settings, but we'll see what I can do to optimize, and we'll see if I can get it to work. If I can get it to work, then great, I can get it to work, and that'll be something really fun to do eventually when we get around to it. Otherwise, we'll see what comes next. Anyway, that is still far off on the horizon either way, so I thank you for joining me regardless, and I hope to see you guys next time on Monday for more Mass Effect Andromeda, on next Wednesday for more Kingdom Come Deliverance, and in the interim, for any of my class lectures that I wind up putting up there for you guys to follow along with. So, thank you all one final time for joining me tonight. Thank you. I hope you had a great time. If you did, and if you'd like to help me continue doing what I'm doing here and keep doing what I really enjoy, hanging out with you guys and playing some games and talking about some philosophy, I always appreciate any donations that you can send down there at ko-fi.com/Professor McCoy. I am incredibly appreciative of anything that you can send my way. It really does help. So, have a good night, everybody. And remember, don't be safe, be well, and more importantly, be good. Good night, everyone.